Charles Oliveira is one of the most well-liked fighters in the history of this sport. That's why the UFC asked him to headline UFC Rio. That's why the UFC gave him a somewhat favorable matchup against another striker. But that fight fell through, and he is now fighting Mateusz Gamrot. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Rio fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. And just because UFC 320 is behind us, it doesn't mean we don't have a ton of really good, exciting fights ahead of us. We have UFC Rio this week. Next week, we head to Canada for UFC Vancouver in what should be a middleweight title eliminator. Then we head over to Saudi Arabia for UFC 321, and then we head back to the Apex for a couple of competitive fights there. If you want to unlock every pick, every bet, every tool, every single thing that we offer and make a couple of dollars while watching your favorite sport, go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's $10. No upsell, no cross-sell, no weird packages. $10, everything instantly. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. UFC 321 is just a few weeks away, and for pay-per-views, we film vlogs. We cook some food, we have some people over, we live our lives, we have some fun watching the fights, and we film our day. We also open mail. If you want to send a letter, send it to the boys. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this UFC Rio fight card. It's a pretty good fight card. We have 13 fights. We've got a ton of Brazilians, and honestly, we've got the best graphics in the game. Look at this background. Look at the background. Look at the graphics. Damn, dude, I make these like early, like a week in advance, and I look at them when I start recording this, and I'm like, God, nailed this one. The color contrast, that's the official UFC background. I mean, we did it again, guys. We did it again. We got Saimon Oliveira taking on Luan Lacerda in the opening fight of the card. This fight order may change, but this is where we're at as of right now. Saimon Oliveira, pretty slick BJJ guy. He is incredibly flexible. He's literally dangerous from anywhere on the ground. He always has a wrist in his hands. He's always working off of your hips, and he's always trying to set something up. His striking does lack a little bit. He throws one punch at a time. He tends to overreact at things that come his way. People do have some success throwing combinations at him because of those ridiculous overreactions. He is coming off that knockout loss to Daniel Martinez, which was his third loss in a row. He's taking on Luan Lacerda. Slick grappler as well. He can strike. He comes forward with reckless abandon. He throws punches. He throws kicks. There's no real rhyme or reason to what he's doing or why, but there's a ton of power. From there, he's going to work in some trips, maybe a single leg or a takedown or two. On the ground, he's a savage as well. He's very creative. He's always looking for a submission. He's a threat everywhere. He's definitely reckless, and he can lose positions because of the recklessness. He's coming off that loss to Damon Blackshear 2 years ago. That is the problem. The layoff is the problem. But any of you who have watched me do these breakdowns before, you've probably heard me say in the past that while I watch fights live, if I have the ability to, I will take notes. If I'm at home in front of my computer or anywhere at home and have my computer, I will take notes while watching the fight. Just my raw in-the-moment reactions. And I do that because I trust my in-the-moment reaction more than a tape study reaction 6 months, 2 years later. And my notes for these two fighters from their last fights could not be more different. Luan's notes said, incredibly dangerous, constantly working towards a submission. And this is a guy who lost his fight. My notes for Saimon say, sucks. And while on the surface, a one-word note may not seem very helpful, but I promise you, it is Saimon sucks. Luan Lacerda is the pick. I hate the layoff, but he's fighting a suck. So we're fine. Luan Lacerda is the pick. These odds honestly might be a discount. Then we have Valter Walker taking on Mohammed Usman. Valter Walker, he's a Brazilian. He does wrestle like a Russian, and that's because he spent a giant chunk of his life in Russia. He's been grinding on the wrestling mats. His striking is not very good. He does get hit a ton, but he doesn't care, right? He wants to lower his level, shoot a takedown. He has become the unofficial heel hook king of the entire sport of MMA with an insane 3 wins with 3 heel hooks. The most recent was over Kennedy Nzechukwu, where he took the worst wrestling shot we have ever seen in history, and he got a little wobbled on the way in. Mohammed Usman is on the other side of that cage. He's not a great fighter, but he is a high-level athlete. He's got college football experience. Style-wise, he's not great at any one thing. He's arguably not even good at any one thing, but he works. He's composed. He'll sit behind a jab. He'll methodically work forward. He's got some decent power in the mix. We've seen it before, but at this point in his career, he seems to be showing up for the paycheck. He's coming off that upset win over Hamdi Abdullahab, where he did almost nothing, but he landed, 2 heavy strikes? So they're like, all right, give it to this guy. This is a battle of the brothers. Valter's brother is a worse fighter than Mohammed's brother, but Valter is the better fighter between him and Mohammed. If there was a visual representation of the chaos that I just described to you, it would be that 3-line S that we all drew in school on our desks. It would be like that. And much like that S, Mohammed Usman's career is about to be wiped away with the first takedown in this fight. Valter should absolutely win this fight. He should. Should be pretty straightforward. Get a takedown, rip off a limb, get on with your day. That should be the breakdown here. My only concern is the fact that Valter seems allergic to striking. And if Usman defends a takedown or two, Valter might curl up into a ball and just straight up quit. I don't see that happening. Ever since his UFC debut lost, he got his body into better condition and he seems to be fighting very different. But I do encourage you, before you put your life savings on Valter Walker, I encourage you to watch his last fight against Kennedy Nzechukwu. Not only did he get wobbled, he took the worst shot we have ever seen. I don't know if I've ever seen a worse takedown attempt in the UFC history. Ultimately, got him where he needed to get. He got his 3rd heel hook in a row, and now this guy's on a wild streak. I am picking him to win. I'm pretty confident in him to win because I have no confidence in Mohammed Usman's skill set. But, Valter's not that good. Hopefully that makes sense. Then we have Jafel Filho taking on Clayton Carpenter in what should be a really fun, really exciting back and forth fight. Both of these guys will absolutely get after it. They are very similar fighters. Jafel Filho is a fast-paced guy. He will engage in a firefight. He'll work in some takedowns. He can get wild. The striking's all over the place, but he's fast. He throws heat. Takedown defense is solid. He's got offensive takedowns of his own. He is most looking to strike. Even though he's got such good grappling credentials, he is just looking to strike. And then if things start to turn, he gets hit a few times. All right, I'm in. I'm wrestling. He is coming off that close loss to Alan Nascimento, where he did have 4 offensive takedowns. He's taking on the not so young anymore, but the prospect, Clayton Carpenter. He's a slick grappler. He'll take wild chances. He'll hunt for submissions. He's a fast-paced guy. He also rushes forward. He immediately sets the tone. He's always hunting for a finish, and even though he is only 8-1 as a professional, he's got a ton of competition experience. He won both a gi and no-gi jiu-jitsu world championship. He's coming off that decision loss to Tagir Ulanbekov, where he was taken down 3 times, but he showed us how busy that he can be off of his back. And I like Jafel Filho a lot. He's a guy that we have picked as a dog. We've bet on him. We've made some money, and he gets after it. He is not afraid to fight. But Clayton has shown us that and a little bit more. I think Clayton is the better wrestler, and he's just as good of a grappler. Clayton is also stronger. I think he's faster, and he might be more aggressive. If not, they're the exact same amount of aggression. We also saw that his chin is there. He got cracked a few times. Tagir is not a bum. I like Clayton here, especially as an underdog. I threw a half a unit on him at these plus 103 odds. I would, if you agree, don't bet on fights you don't agree with. If you agree, I would hop on that because I expect Clayton to be the favorite come fight night. Jafel's good, but I think Clayton is literally a little bit better everywhere. So Clayton's a pick, and that's our first bet on the card. And here's a look at last night. The UFC 320 bets were pretty rock solid. Jacob's underdog lock of the week hit. The slam of the week hit. There was 3.54 units of net profit, a 16% ROI. The only 2 real misses on this fight card were Magomed Ankalaev and Patchy Mix. Cut Patchy Mix immediately. And while Magomed lost that fight, I couldn't be happier about it. Giant Alex fan, so happy he got that belt back, especially the way that he did. He should not even entertain a trilogy. Just move that train forward. You're at 38 years old. Move up to heavyweight. Try to win that title. Try to be the first and only ever 3-division champion in the history of this sport. But we weren't the only ones that crushed. The community did as well. You hear me push premium. You hear me promote the hell out of it. And here's some premium members. I'm not even 12 hours removed from UFC 320. We've already gotten all these tickets. Here's 3 different $8,000 plus tickets. Swing Hard said, I'm not sure which handle is Jacob, so I'm sending this to you as well. And he's got that $8,100 winning ticket. Dr. Wise sent us an email with his ticket. And he said, thank you, Angelo. I made a lineup based off of your DraftKings video. He's talking about DraftKings Fantasy. I put Alex in there since I wanted another big dog, and you were rooting for him. I'm so excited. I finally got first after getting second a dozen times. That's his $8,100 ticket. And then we got this message as well on the gram, and he said, Aged Ange Bullseye, thank you so much, and Jakey Boy for all of this. LFG, for you youngsters, that means let's effing go. Just, I'm cool. I get the lingo. You might not. These are not accidents. You hit one every 9 months, that's an accident. Getting messages like this. First of all, guys, I appreciate you sharing these when you hit, because obviously we feel great about it and I use it as marketing, but also I love it. I just love it. I love seeing everybody do well. That card was wildly entertaining, wildly successful. Back to Rio. Let's hope this card continues this train forward. Then we have Irina Alekseeva with the perm of all perms. Irina Alekseeva with her hair looks like the hat that Shavkat wears. So she's got the Dagestani hat, not even the Shavkat hat. She's got the Dagestani hat, and she's taken on Beatriz Mesquita, who, no comments. Irina Alekseeva, a world Sambo champion. She literally just walks forward, wings punches from her hips. She'll walk you down like a zombie. She'll throw wild, and then she'll look to toss you, grapple, especially if you end up tied up. Like most Sambo athletes, there's some submissions in there. There's good takedowns. She'll strike. She takes risks. She gets taken down because of the risks that she takes, but she doesn't care because she trusts her grappling off her back. She does get hit with literally anything. Anything you throw in her general direction, she'll actually move towards it to make sure you do hit her. She is very, good for her. She's a great opponent because she cares a lot about your stats, and she will help you hit her. She's the most hittable person in this division. But she is tough as shit. She is coming off that decision loss to Claudia Segula, where she ate 156 strikes. She's taking on Beatriz Mesquita, maybe Bia, B-I-A, depending on where you're doing your research and how they have her listed. She is a nasty grappler, like one of the best female grapplers in the world nasty. Her striking is not great, or at least she's not comfortable with it. The takedowns need a little bit of work, but if the fight ends up on the ground, it is lights out. She is exactly who Mackenzie Dern was supposed to be. And I'm not saying that's a slight to Mackenzie because she came into the UFC, got a bunch of finishes, and there was a splash. But she is like, if I'm on the ground with her, I've got problems. A death touch, if you will. She actually doesn't even need to be on the ground. She'll get you against the cage, climb your back, and submit you from there. Bia Mesquita is the second juiced lady prospect making her UFC debut in the last month. The last one was at Noche. It was Alice Pajeda. And in that loss, the experience was the problem. She kind of got pushed around, taken down, just sort of out-gridded. Irina kind of sucks at fighting, but the reality is she's the better actual fighter. Bia is a one-trick pony. She's great at that one trick, but she's a one-trick pony. I think Irina's the better overall fighter here. She's not afraid to get hit. She's not afraid to engage. She's got takedowns. She's got grappling. Now, I do think Bia is so dangerous on the ground that if it gets there, this fight's over. Bia wins the fight. And that's going to be the prediction. I do think Bia wins this fight. I think it ends up on the ground somehow. And when it ends up on the ground, she'll take over. So she's going to be the pick. But anybody betting on Bia at minus 600, A, seek help. B, go just watch some Sambo fights because you're just buying into the hype and ignoring the fact that Irina will get after it and has grappling. She's not like a clueless striker. She will grapple. She'll take a beating. She'll deliver a beat. Like, Bia should win because I think the ground gap is tremendous, but Irina's not useless. I would stay far away from these odds, at least in her UFC debut. If she does what she's supposed to do, great. Let's make money next time. This time, minus 600, they're already not very good odds. There is no reason to have your entire night hinging on the fact that Bia Mesquita is hopefully going to get a submission. And then we have Julia Polastri taking on Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Julia Polastri, 13-5 in her career. Plenty of experience, but not nearly as much experience as Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Julia Polastri is a well-rounded fighter. She's got slick striking, solid grappling. The striking technique is clean. Plenty of straight punches, plenty of kicks. She has power for this division, but she doesn't even chase it. If it's there, she's got it, but she won't just look for the power. She does get taken down pretty easily, but when she's on the ground, she's got solid BJJ. She will hunt for submissions. She's coming off that decision loss to Luque Godinez, where she was taken down 5 times, but she did almost win that 3rd round. She's taken on Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Good kickboxer, solid technique, good grit. She averages almost 6 significant strikes landed per minute and has maintained a solid 74% takedown defense. She has had a long career with a lot of ups and downs. And it wasn't too long ago that she fought for a title. Shortly after that, she did spiral into a 4-fight losing skid. She pulled herself out of it, had a 4-fight winning streak, and now she's back to a skid. The reality is that Karolina is a very skilled fighter. She has fought a who's who of the division, but she's a little too old. She's just a little too old. She's slowing down. She's coming off that loss to Denise Gomes where she was outstruck. She should not be getting outstruck by Denise Gomes. And if we had a 8-year younger version of her, she would not have been outstruck by Denise Gomes. This should be a Julia win. But anytime you get a crafty veteran, especially in the women's division, you need to worry about it. I think Julia is the better striker. I think she's faster. She's cleaner. Because of that, I think she wins here. I do not trust her enough at these odds, but the over 2.5 is good as gold. Neither one of these women are finishers. The over 2.5 here is as good as gold, and it's going to be a little bit juiced, but I'll take a minus 400 over 2.5 than a minus 350 Julia Polastri money line. We have seen many women before her just get beat by a crafty veteran. Then we have Vitor Petrino taking on Thomas Petersen in what is supposed to be probably a setup fight, right? This is set up for Vitor to get back on track. He's coming off a successful heavyweight debut. They're probably trying to build some momentum. Decent looking dude. Most of his fights are exciting. That's the setup here. Whether we get that or not will be interesting because we got Vitor. He's a powerful guy, solid left hook. He's dangerous. Good striker, good grappling as well. He has 17 takedowns in the UFC. Takedown defense, just okay, but not too many people are shooting on him. He does do a nice job working his way up and avoiding danger if he is taken down. He's pretty green. He's got 14 fights, but he's kind of just like an athlete that's learning as he goes. He is coming off that TKO win in his heavyweight debut where he caught Austin Lane's kick, took it to the ground, and just sort of beat the shit out of him. He's taking on Thomas Petersen. Thomas Petersen is a solid wrestler. He'll work everything from bear hugs to doubles. Striking's not great, but he'll close that gap. He'll put some punches out there to march forward, get to your hips, drag you to the ground. If he cannot take you down, though, he's going to be in trouble. But if he can, he's got great control, good ground and pound, great pressure. He is coming off that 9 takedown win over Dontel Mays. And yes, Vitor Petrino just beat the absolute shit out of Austin Lane in his heavyweight debut. But I still don't know if he is any good or not. He caught a kick, and then he dominated a non-UFC level fighter. And while Thomas Petersen isn't going to fight for the title anytime soon, he's a tough kid. He can grind out a win. The problem, though, is he is a full-time mechanic and a part-time fighter. That's absolutely the right decision to make. If you're him in the UFC and you're fighting for 10-10, maybe 3 times a year, and you have people in your life depend on you like a wife, kids, a girlfriend, kids, whatever the hell, I totally understand the need for a real job. The problem is that doesn't necessarily translate to athletic success in the largest promotion on planet Earth. Being a part-time fighter against somebody like Vitor Petrino, a high-level athlete, somebody who's training with some of the best people in the world, is not a recipe for success. I do think Vitor is better everywhere, except just pure American grit and toughness. I think he gets Thomas Petersen out of there. I think he can probably find a finish. But if he cannot, it's going to be a tough night because corn-fed Midwest mechanics don't exactly have a quit button. And they're not people you're just going to get out of there with your slick technique and speed. Petrino's the pick. I'm still deciding if I'm going to bet on him or not, though, because I can definitely picture a world where, cornbread Thomas Petersen just pushes him over, gets him to the ground, stays on top, and Vitor's just clueless off of his back. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. I do think Vitor wins. We're probably getting a discount on him, but he's not a true heavyweight. And not like Thomas is massive, but he's an actual heavyweight. Like that, this has been his size his entire life. Wrestled, competed, big boy. Corn-fed. Then we have Lucas Rocha taking on Stewart Nicoll. Lucas Rocha, solid striker. He's got good volume, good body work. He stays busy. He pressures forward. He has almost no regard for what comes back his way. Many times what comes back his way is a takedown attempt, and that's because of how upright he stands. If he is taken down, he's got decent BJJ. He can defend most things. Decent enough scramble skills to create a mess and get out of there. But both his takedown and his submission defense did fail him in his UFC debut, where Clayton Carpenter was able to get him to the ground and submit him. He's taking on Stewart Nicoll. Decent wrestler, slick grappler. And when he takes you down, he's got good control. He's always working. He's looking for positions. He's landing strikes. He's staying busy. He's a strong guy, and he uses that strength really well. His striking is a bit stiff, but he has nice leg kicks. He's not afraid to exchange. If you're going to see his record, you'll see a bunch of knockouts. But I throw out there, those are mostly ground and pound TKO finishes. They're not one-punch knockouts on the feet. He is coming off that submission loss to Jesus Aguilar, where he hated the forward pressure. He hated Jesus just moving forward, so he took a shot. It was a bad shot, and his neck got snatched up. Crazy close fight. Very tough to predict. And there's a couple of different obvious paths here. Lucas has pretty shit takedown defense, and Stewart can wrestle. So there's that path. Stewart also hates forward pressure, and Lucas can get after it. There's that path. But it's tough because my gut is telling me Lucas is going to come forward, give up a takedown, and lose. But my brain is saying Lucas is the more dangerous of the two. Stewart doesn't love the pressure. He might clam up. Plus, Lucas is fighting at home. I'm going to stick with the brain, the big boy brain, the Tylenol in the womb brain. But I can't touch the money line. Under 2.5, I actually think will be a sneaky good play here. These are both dangerous guys that can find a finish. So under 2.5 might be the way to go. I'm not touching a money line, just not nearly enough confidence to do that. And before I break down the next fight, let me ask you to go to the App Store and search We Want Picks. We have an app. We spent a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of development effort to make an app. And the reason you want the app is because you'll get push notifications when we place bets. When things happen in the world, you will get a push notification. Inside the app, you have full access to everything that we offer at WeWantPicks.com, like the Fight Simulator. This is a tool that simulates fights 100,000 times and gives you the outputs. We have an optimizer. This will build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. This will build FanDuel fantasy lineups for you. And if you don't know how to use an optimizer, we have an industry-first beginner mode built into it. We have a data analyzer for those of you who like to do your own research. You jump in, you select your fight card, you can work out into the future. You select your fighter, it'll line that fighter's stats up with their opponent, and then you can add filters and deep dive how many takedowns they're getting in decision wins or whatever the hell story you want to tell. We have a line movement tracker. This will give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. We have a prop hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. We have a tape index for those of you who like to do the tape study. I mentioned earlier, I like to take my notes while watching the fights. I will still do the tape study, but I like to have my notes because I trust how I felt the first time I watched it. But it is very important to go back and watch some of these fights because lots of times you'll just look at Tapology and it'll say like red X, TKO. And then you go watch the fight. You're like, that's right. He was dominating and got tired. This is a different matchup. So for those of you who like to do your own tape study, the tape index is there for you, ready to go. And it's not just for this card. It is not a week-to-week tool. Most of our tools are not week-to-week. Most of the tools allow you to do future research and to get ahead of lines. And here's what that future looks like. If you go to WeWantPicks.com and click Become a Member, it's $10. $10. You spent more than $10 today on some bullshit. A donut delivery, you fat bitch. 2-ply toilet paper, 1-ply is fine. 1-ply is fine. You guys are wasting money like crazy. $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. You will unlock everything you have ever needed. The greatest value in this space, that is an objective fact to prove me wrong, for these 4 fight cards. You'll get UFC Rio. You will get UFC Vancouver. You will get UFC 321. And then you will get the fight night at the Apex. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. And just a quick reminder, you want to send some mail. Send us a letter. I love reading the letters. I have a whole binder of every letter, every package, everything we have ever been sent over, I don't know how long we've had the mailbox. 2 years, 3 years? I have everything. I save it all. Send a letter. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. We're going to open up the UFC Rio main card with Vicente Luque taking on Joel Alvarez, and all the Vicente Luque fans will be in shambles after this fight. It is not going to go well. I apologize ahead of time, but we have Vicente Luque. Pretty good everywhere. He's a good fighter. He's got power in his hands. He's got good wrestling. He's got fantastic submissions. If a fight gets to the ground, he'll make something happen there. At the end of the day, he is a striker who's looking to bang, but he can also work in a grapple-heavy game plan. He could also submit you off of his back. His 61% takedown defense might seem low, but I need to remind you, he has been fighting some of the best people on planet Earth for the last 10 years. At one point in time, Vicente was one of the best in the world. Period. End of story. But now he's getting taken down and finished by people like Kevin Holland. He's taking on Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez is very tall for this division. He is 6'3". He used that length and reach really well. He's got solid kicks, okay boxing. He's a very good grappler. His grappling is interesting because he has gotten one single takedown in the UFC. In fact, he hasn't defended a takedown in the UFC. That's why you have 0-0. 0 takedowns on the board. My man, do something. And that's not true. He has defended a takedown. That's why we have a 40% takedown defense. Actually, what is 40%? How many did he defend? 2, maybe? It's a new day. Joel Alvarez is defending takedowns. But the point remains the same. He doesn't try to take anybody down. He doesn't really defend takedowns. And all of that is in spite of the fact that he has very good, insanely dangerous jiu-jitsu. He is coming off that knockout win over Drakkar Klose, where it was still clear he can't defend takedowns. But there was power in the mix. And this is very much a passing of the torch. From 2018 to 2022, Vicente Luque was a killer. Everybody's favorite fighter. But here we are. Vicente's older, he's slower, he's chinnier, he's a shell of who he used to be. So in comes Joel Alvarez, basically Vicente 2.0. He's got great striking, great BJJ. He seems to be hitting his stride as of late in this little 3-fight win streak. This version of Vicente, this one who's been finished in 3 of his last 5 fights, is not winning here. Joel likely finishes Vicente on the feet. He can certainly do the same on the ground as well. I imagine Vicente's going to come out with a grapple-heavy game plan. That's what he did against Kevin Holland. It didn't work for him there. Probably not going to work for him here. The only real chance Vicente has is that Joel just sticks with the not defending takedown game plan and he stays safe on top. But even with that, Joel is the pick. These odds are pretty appropriate. Then we have Ricardo Ramos taking on Khan Affley. Ricardo Ramos, very dangerous fighter. He's good everywhere. He's tall. He's rangy. Slick BJJ. He's got high kicks, spinning kicks, a great jab, solid leg kicks. If he hits the ground, he is just hunting for submissions. He is very fast in those transitions. He's coming off that decision loss to Chepe Mariscal, where Chepe's insane pace prevented him from just get going. He's taking on Khan Affley, a BJJ black belt. Takedowns are okay. He's got decent striking. He's busy on the ground. He's always looking for something. He's not very long. He's just a short, compact guy who relies on strength to control positions, maybe work in a sweep. He can be hard to move around because of the physical build that he has, but he has no problems being boring and just hanging out in the clinch. He's coming off the decision loss to Mohammed Naimov, where he came out aggressive, but then he just perfectly fine settling in for just clinch and stalling. This is a tough spot. I am actually shocked that we have a 2-1 favorite here. Ramos is obviously a good fighter. I don't think he's good enough to be a 2-1 favorite here. This fight could absolutely end up with Ricardo Ramos being on the ground, just getting ridden out by a wet blanket laying on top of him. And I'm going to trust that all the wrestling looks that he gets at Team Alpha Male have Ramos prepared and just light years ahead in the wrestling exchanges. He's going to be way better in the striking. So Ramos is going to be the pick because hopefully he can keep this standing and he's the better striker. But I do not like these odds. 2-1 seems pretty wide for a guy that we have seen taken down. We have seen not do well with pressure. Like, I'm probably not touching these 2-1 odds. Then we have Lucas Almeida taking on Michael Aswell. Lucas Almeida, powerful striker. He loves throwing a big, heavy 1-2. He comes forward. He sets up a big right hand. When he senses blood, he just game plan out the window, like mode activated. His hands come low, and he just goes crazy trying to find a finish. He throws forward anything that he can to get you out of there. His takedown defense is not great. It's listed at 53%. It is the largest hole in his game. He's coming off the decision loss to Danny Silva, where he attempted takedowns, and that threw him out of rhythm. Once he was out of that rhythm, he couldn't get the hands going. He couldn't figure out if he was wrestling, if he was striking. He couldn't figure out when a takedown was coming his way. He's taking on Michael Aswell, a forward pressure striker who's always pumping a jab out there. He's tough as nails, literally does not stop moving forward. His striking defense isn't what you would want it to be, but the offense is so intense, it almost doesn't matter. He can also grapple. It's never his plan A, but it is there. He's a tough guy. He stays busy. He'll make his opponents work. He has had a tough slate so far in the UFC. He lost on the Contender Series to Bogdangrad. Then he stepped up on short notice in his last fight against Polastri, where he landed more than 100 significant strikes and did win a round. And I was surprised to see, just on the surface, before I did the deep dive, I was surprised to see a guy that who has 0 wins in the UFC was a favorite against the local who does have wins at this level. But then I went back. I used my tape index at WeWantPicks.com, and I watched the tape. I did the breakdown. I did the research again for Michael Aswell. Now I understand it. Aswell's pressure is insane. Even on short notice against somebody as dangerous as Polastri, he was completely undeterred. He kept moving forward. He did everything he could to try and win that fight, and I think that relentless pressure will suit him well here. Lucas will likely end up looking for big shots, and while he's trying to hum a big shot, Michael Aswell is going to hit him 3 times. Aswell's going to be the pick. Let's hope we don't have like some weird homer decision to sour all of this, but I do think that relentless, insane 9.1 significant strikes landed per minute pressure gets him to win. Then we got a couple of big boys. We got Jonathan Diniz taking on Mario Pinto in the heavyweight division. Both of these guys, big heavyweight strikers. This could be one of the rare, fun heavyweight fights. Jonathan Diniz, a very, very good striker. He's got clean technique, incredible power. He throws in combinations. He's got good defense. He's got great speed for his size, and he's got professional kickboxing experience. His takedown defense is okay, but the concerning part is that if it fails him, if he ends up on the ground, he is literally useless. He has no clue what to do off of his back. He is only 9-1 in his career, but he does have 7 stoppages. He's coming off the decision win over Alvin Hines, where Alvin's brick head and steroid veins kept him upright. He's taking on Mario Pinto, a technical striker who takes his time to find a rhythm. And then he settles in, he really lets his hands go. He does a nice job working leg kicks as well. And despite having some power, he doesn't chase. His striking defense is interesting because he tends to lean his head back instead of using footwork from side to side. That's kind of dangerous against the big boys. But so far, so good. He is undefeated. He can grapple as well. He's got solid takedown defense, really good top work if he ends up there. He's coming off that successful UFC debut where he knocked out Austin Lane. And Mario is the second person on this card, the second heavyweight on this card, who has juiced odds because they fought trash-ass Austin Lane. Austin is by no means a UFC level fighter, and he should not be the measuring stick of how good someone is. Mario is obviously a very dangerous striker. He's a giant. He's 6'5". He's good, but I have no clue how good because he hasn't fought anybody of any acumen whatsoever. Like, he hasn't fought anybody that has accomplished anything at any level. I think people are taking away from Janata because he couldn't finish Alvin, but they need to be reminded that Alvin is made out of bricks, and he literally popped for steroids right after that fight. So all the steroid juices just prevented him from getting knocked out. This is a tough fight to pick. I really do want to pick Janata here, but he was just too damn hittable in his last fight. And maybe he was hittable because he hit Alvin as hard as he could a few times and nothing happened, so he got tired and his hands dropped. So I'm going to lean Mario just because I don't love how hittable Jonathan Diniz was, but I'm probably flipping this pick. I'm probably going to, you know what? Back it up. Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm going to flip right now. I'm going Jonathan Diniz. I did it. I talked myself into. I was going to originally lean Mario because he could squeeze in a takedown if he needs to. There's a giant gap of skills on the ground with Janata, but Janata's a good striker. He works in and out. I don't love Mario putting his head back. I'm going to do it. You guys real time saw a pick get flipped. I'm picking Janata Denise. Then we have our co-main event of the evening. We have Divas and Figueiredo taking on Montel Jackson. And I know this is going to be the fight. I'm positive this will be the fight that everybody argues about, outside of the main event, that everybody argues about in the comment section. I can already see the arguments. We got Divas and Figueiredo, former flyweight champion of the world. He moved up to bantamweight a little later in his career. He's getting older. Cutting that weight sucks. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And we've seen some cardio improvements out of him at bantamweight. He's had some success at bantamweight, but nothing outstanding. He does have a bunch of takedowns in his last couple of fights. He has more takedowns in his last couple of fights than his previous 10 combined. He's a good fighter. He's well-rounded. He's dangerous everywhere. He's got power in his hands. He's got well-timed takedowns, a BJJ black belt. He's got some dog in him. He is coming off that injury loss to Corey Sandhagen. It was definitely an injury loss. Like, it's not like Corey beat him, but it was clear Corey was going to win that fight. He's taking on Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson is making a name for himself. He's got some good power. He's a good wrestler. He's added striking later in his career. He's very well-rounded, a resume full of knockouts, decisions, and submissions. His takedown accuracy is not the best. It's 62%, but he's averaging more than 3 per fight. And oftentimes people do want to focus on the power because he's Montel Quick Jackson, and he's connecting, and he's putting people out. But you're ignoring the wrestling credentials. At one point in time, he was at the Olympic training facility in hopes to compete at that level, but certainly close enough to even be invited to that training facility. He's coming off the shutout win over Daniel Marcos. And before you head down the path of Divas and Figueiredo is a former world champion. He beat all of these people, just rattling off everybody he beat. You need to be reminded that that is not the same guy that we have here. This version of Divison is not the guy who won the title. He's not the guy who beat Cody Garbrandt or Chito Vera. This is the guy who went 2 for 8 in takedown attempts against Petr Yan. He's older. He's slower. He's a shell of who he was. And with that being said, even this shell of who he was is better than most people. So this breakdown needs to determine, is Montel Jackson most or is he special? And I think he's teetering on the edge. I think he's right there. I don't think he's like top 5 in the world special. So it's a little tricky. I don't have a single performance of Montel Jackson's that I can point to and say, you see what he did here? He'll do that exact same thing against Figgy. But I do have a handful of scraps, 1 or 2 exchanges, a couple of different performances where I can say he defended takedowns here. He got his own takedowns here. The hand speed here was incredible. So I'm going to pick Montel Jackson here. I think Montel Jackson will rise to the occasion and will win this fight. But it would not be shocking that a former world champion comes out here, makes this a gritty matchup, and with the odds widening the way they are, Divas and Figueiredo plus 3.5 might not be a horrific bet. And if you don't know what that is, you're basically betting the spread. And the way the math works out in simple terms is Divas and Figueiredo would have to win a single round. He could lose a 29-28 across the board and your bet hits. He could win the fight outright and your bet hits. Lose a split decision, your bet hits. So that may be worth exploring when that drops. I'm going to pick Montel Jackson, but it is not lost on me how good Divison was at one point. I also do think very much he is lying about his age. I don't think he's 37. I think we have the Jose Aldo effect here, where Jose retired at 39 years old, did an interview, said he was 45. He's been lying about his age. I think Divas and Figueiredo's in a similar boat. Montel Jackson's going to be the pick, but toughest fight of his career, not even close. And then we have the main event of the evening, a brand new main event of the evening. We have Charles Oliveira taking on Mateusz Gamrot. Charles Oliveira, literally the biggest fan favorite I have ever witnessed in real life. He walked in a room, people went berserk at UFC 317. And I get it. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. He can strike. He can grapple. He has the most amount of submission wins ever. He can knock people out. He can implement a wrestle-heavy game plan like he did a couple fights ago against Michael Chandler. Charles Oliveira is the poster child for clean technique when it comes to striking. Charles Oliveira is also getting a little older. He was just knocked unconscious by Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira is an interesting guy because in a fight like this against somebody like Mateusz Gamrot, even if he's taken down, who cares? He has the most amount of submission wins in the history of this sport. And Mateusz Gamrot taking him down is almost a given because he's a nasty wrestler. He's got decent striking, a diverse set of attacks. He does not really have a ton of power in his feet, but he's got technical striking. He's also a little bit chinny. So while he's busy and he has relentless pressure and he can get the takedowns, if you crack his chin, he will collapse. He'll pop back up. He hasn't been put out just yet, but he will collapse. So we've got an interesting breakdown here because we have Charles Oliveira, who in theory could knock out Mateusz Gamrot or submit him. I mean, those are two very real possibilities, and I don't think anybody would be surprised if either one of those things happen. But we also have Charles Oliveira who can be taken down. We have a Charles Oliveira who we've seen get taken down and lose on the ground, like the Arman Tsarukyan fight, like Islam. So this is a really tricky fight to break down. His original opponent was Rafael Fiziev. And while in that fight he was an underdog as well, the reality is that was striker versus striker. And Charles was such a better grappler that if he needed to mix it up, if he needed to implement the same game plan he did against Michael Chandler, he could. But that's not what we have here. His only hope here is knock Mateusz on the feet or catch him on the ground. I think Mateusz Gamrot is just too experienced, too well-trained, too ingrained in American Top Team to get caught in a submission on the ground. I do not see that happening. So what I think happens here is Mateusz Gamrot gets the takedowns, stays safe, wins this fight. It's probably a boring fight. I think he wins this fight the exact same way Arman Tsarukyan did. And that wasn't without adversity. I think Gamrot is stuck in a couple of really bad positions, but works his way through. So I'm going to pick Gamrot. I actually bet on Gamrot at minus 120 because I do have a feeling he's going to end up being minus 200, minus 250. And before you say Dan Hooker beat him, Dan Hooker has much better takedown defense than Charles Oliveira does. He just does. Dan Hooker's got that Dustin Poirier dog in him. And I'm not saying Charles doesn't, but Charles will get taken down and accept it. He won't scramble his way back up. He'll work for submissions, which means he's just going to spend more and more time off of his back. This is a good matchup. It matters for the division. I do think it's an unfortunate another loss in Charles Oliveira's career, but at this point, the fan favorite that he is, I don't think anybody cares. Mateusz Gamrot's the pick. I don't expect a bludgeoning, and I will be rooting for Charles Oliveira despite the bet. My bets and my fandom don't always align, and this is one of those situations. Same exact thing at UFC 320. My bet was on Ankalaev. The fandom, the rooting for, the heart was all pushing for Alex Pereira. Same thing here, rooting for Charles Oliveira. Don't think it happens. Mateusz Gamrot is the pick. Guys, that is the breakdown. Do me a favor, if you watch this video, like, subscribe, do all of those things. If you haven't yet, we would genuinely appreciate it. It costs you $0 to support the boys. If you want to further your support, you can go ahead and download the app. That also costs $0. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. If you want to further support the boys, go to the website, wewantpicks.com, and click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 for an entire month. We have literally built the greatest offering this space has ever seen. That is an objective fact. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells you. If anybody's out there like, well, I made 8 units. Nah, you don't got shit, dog. We have tools. We custom developed and custom coded tools. One of those is the data analyzer. This tool will give you every piece of data, insight, and information you could ever need for any fighter now or a future fight card. We have the fight simulator. This simulates fights 100,000 times. Not only gives you the outputs, it gives you each individual stat along the way. Then it will go ahead and take it a step further and build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you or FanDuel fantasy lineups. We have the optimizer. This will also build DraftKings or FanDuel fantasy lineups for you. We have a line movement tracker. This will give you opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter and every card. A prop hunter. This is a curated set of data to help you find prop bets. A tape index for those of you who like to do your own research. And we have more than just my beautiful face. We have other cappers on the site as well, including an artificial intelligence. Guys, greatest offering this space has ever seen. It has been $10 since we thought this up. I have not raised the price. I will not raise the price because I respect you too much and I understand how volatile this sport is. Support the boys. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 for an entire month. I am very excited. I love this time of year. First of all, the air's cooling off. I live in Texas. That's fantastic. Second of all, we're on a nice little run here. We're getting fights week in and week out till Thanksgiving. We got big events. And then after Thanksgiving, we have UFC 322, a massive pay-per-view. We still got a big-ass event in December. I am very excited for not only the end of this year, even though we have many more months, but also 2026 when everything is free on CBS and Paramount. Thank you so much for being here. I genuinely love, I'm going to say every single one of you. That's not true. Some of you are the absolute worst. Most of you are great. Thank you for being here.